March 7th, 2022 marked the 30th anniversary of the first broadcast of the Sailor Moon anime. To honor this, we've decided to watch the entire series from start to finish, alongside a group taking on the challenge on Reddit. This is Girl Scouts Watch Sailor Moon, episodes 19 through 24. Hey, welcome back everybody. I am Borealis, aka the Literal Grell.
I'm Wren.
And I'm Kai. And we are the Girl Scouts.
Yes. And I want to start this out because we said we would try to read comments from the Reddit with other people who are commenting on the episodes. I'm still going to keep the watch order in the video descriptions, although y'all are going to have to really start binge watching if you want to catch up at this point. But one of our major complaints about last week's episodes was how Ray went on a date with Mamoru, aka Tuxedo Mask, and how it's kind of weird because he's an adult. And RayKing02 commented on this, saying that he's noted to be a college student, meaning he has to be at least 18. And which, I didn't know this. This is in quite the contrast to the manga, which he is explicitly 16. So yeah, the 18-year-old college student dating a 14-year-old middle schooler, pretty creepy. And then on top of this, that episode was an anime original, so it's not from the manga at all. So there's no actual sources on why exactly he was aged up for the anime adaptation. The only things that seem to exist are speculation that they were like, how would he have enough free time to do stuff all the time if he was a high school student? So, yeah, it's just a weird thing from Toei. You can look things up on some of the wikis, and I did a tiny bit of research on this, but there are no actual sources. It's just all people guessing. So, yeah, for some reason Toei Animation decided to make him an adult, which makes everything creepier.
Yeah. Although which we're going to get into this.
Oh, definitely in these episodes.
There's some themes of adults dating children in Sailor Moon.
Yeah, it's a little weird, yeah.
It is pretty weird.
Yeah, very, very, very odd.
This arc, of course, is focusing on Nephrite.
Yes, our new villain. We got to talk about him a bit last week, but I mean, we really dig into it this week. So do we want to just dive in on the first episode? Episode 19, Usagi's Joy, a love letter from Tuxedo Mask, where everyone suddenly gets a love letter from Tuxedo Mask. Definitely Tuxedo Mask.
This is... So, Nephrite's whole thing is individually targeting people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's changed how he goes about stuff and is now like, actually, I need to find Sailor Moon. We're gonna go at it through what she loves.
Yeah, and it to be fair, it's super smart, because, let's be real, all the other villains just being like, Sailor Moon just shows up and ends everything. Nephrite is smart enough to be like, maybe I should actually take out Sailor Moon. Damn, dude. It'd take us 20-something episodes for someone to have that brilliant idea? Damn. But, this episode is kind of interesting because, we start also getting little hints even more so about Tuxedo Mask. Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, you get to see Mamoru, sort of have a forced transformation as Usagi becomes Sailor Moon. He becomes Tuxedo Mask, and it doesn't seem like he's really all that, jazzed about it.
Yeah, no.
He can't control it, and he has just vague snippets of memories and dreams that he doesn't really know what's going on with.
Yeah, poor Tuxedo Mask. We got to see him kind of have the weird, drain weird things in previous episodes, and now we get to see, being Tuxedo Mask is kind of tough. I guess to be fair, these episodes also start revealing slowly a little bit more about Tuxedo Mask, although we'll get to that later too. Yes. In one of the later episodes, things get weird. Oh god, this anime. It's really fascinating watching this back now as an adult and seeing things and just being like, what? And it's not even just some of the like choices from the original dub that you wouldn't think of. Because like we were talking about Zoisite from last week, and he's in a bunch of episodes this week, so we should say this here too. He was just made to be a girl in the English dub.
So that he wouldn't be as flamingly gay.
Yeah, basically. So he was just a girl. And so it's just like, weird.
That kind of makes a lot of sense, because I remember thinking as a kid that he was very pretty. And I'm like, he's no prettier than any of the other twinks.
I mean, yeah, that is just, it's so like, why in the world? Like I mean, I know this was a different era, but the amount of censorship that went into the original Sailor Moon, like, especially getting to watch back and see what it's like now with this way better dub from Viz Media, is just like, whoa. Because at first I'd even thought about hunting down the original dub and watching it as far as we could for fun. But, you know, it's like the chance to actually watch it in good quality, as sad as it is to say. Yeah, it's such a huge improvement to not have it massively censored. Like, for anyone who maybe picks this up or listens to this, like, I don't know, however long down the road these episodes are out.
Although I will say that I do miss fighting evil by moonlight.
Yeah, it's true. They did really make great lyrics for that. But, like, anyone who watches this later down the road, like, oh my god, if you watch Sailor Moon as a kid, the censorship is astounding. Like, I notice it every time I look at stuff from these episodes, and I get to see the comments on Reddit, like, and reminding me of stuff that, like, I forgot even happened. Yeah. Just like, wow, they made some weird choices.
They gender swapped someone so that they wouldn't seem gay.
Yeah, like, what? And it messes with the lore a lot too, which, I mean, that'll be way further down the road. We know a little bit because we've watched the musical, but which again, we'll talk about that during the rest week. We're slowly adding more weird Sailor Moon media to talk about during the one rest week where you don't have to watch anything. So that's going to be just a weird ass episode. I can't wait. But see, was there any other big things from the love letter from Tuxedo Mask?
So I think that it's interesting. So when there's the love letters being sent out to everybody, Usagi is really sad about it. And the reason why she's really sad is because all of the other girls got a letter from Tuxedo Mask as well. And this means that he's been fooling around behind her back all this time, because they totally are in a relationship. And
oh yeah, she doesn't even fantasize about her and the arcade guy, like all of them together. He's been fooling around.
Yeah.
Although this is where we get to start an extremely problematic relationship between a full-grown man and a middle school child.
Oh, Mr. Sailji.
Yeah, exactly. Nephrite as Seonji, and Sailor Moon's best friend. She's all into him. He's an adult. Sailji. And I mean, okay, he's a monster, literally.
Yeah.
So like, it could make a little more sense. He's just like, oh, yeah, I don't give a shit. But like, why is this middle schooler allowed to be into an adult, and and that's not anyone's problem with it. Like, no one's problem with it is that he's a full-grown adult. It's only that, oh yeah, he's actually an evil monster guy. Like, Sailor Moon doesn't say shit about this.
And in her introduction, she goes as far as to support and, accost Zoisite and his monsters, being like, how dare you interfere with this love? Sailor Moon will punish you.
Oh yeah, that's right. In the later episode,
really
yeah, like
the love and justice are not entirely on the same page, and she clearly chooses love.
Well, it's also interesting too, because like, I think that it's pretty obvious to us all as adults that adults dating children is a bad idea.
Oh yeah.
And I think that part of what's going on here is that Usagi's like, how do I tell my friend, my best friend, that she's being taken advantage of by a scary monster? Because she's not going to listen to me because she thinks that she's in love with him. And even me telling her that it's bad news doesn't really remove her feelings at all.
Although, to be fair, the only thing this isn't a later episode, so we're skimming ahead slightly, but like, the only thing she does tell her is that he's a monster.
Yeah.
The age thing never comes up. ever.
I mean, the terrible thing is that tracks with my knowledge of, like, growing up and girls dating adult men.
I mean, yeah, it
Like,
is, that is fair, because like I was just thinking, like, if you're watching this and you're young too, like, this is completely acceptable to Sailor Moon and to
yeah.
all of the other girls, like, this is fine. And like that it's weird that that's the messaging, like, and it's in so many shows and it's
Oh
in
gosh.
so much media.
It's also a thing too where a lot of the time when adult men date children, they'll tell the children that they're dating, you're so mature for your age, you know, you're exceptional, right? And so if you're trying to talk to your friend who's 15 and had a pregnancy scare about, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be dating a 28-year-old who's not using protection with you, maybe this is bad, she's not going to be swayed by you going, your boyfriend's 28, because for her, the fact that she's dating a 28-year-old is a sign of how mature she is.
That's interesting.
Really...
I feel
So
like we got a fairly similar, if not exact, comment from Naru in one of these episodes.
yeah, it's true.
I think she accused Sailor Moon of being jealous.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
that's the whole thing. And like, the thing that Sailor Moon might be jealous of is the fact that Naru is dating, whereas Usagi has not yet actually had a real relationship where the person that she's dating thinks that they are dating her.
That's true. You know, could this be something along the lines of, like, because I know Kai here is kind of an expert on fairy tales a bit. Like, I'm curious as to, like, you know, there's a lot of allusions and stuff in fairy tales that do things like this, that they show these kinds of relationships and they won't listen to me anything thing. Do we want to give Sailor Moon the benefit of the doubt that that's what it was trying to, like, bring this up in a way that younger readers or fans would understand? Or is it just kind of gross? Like, because I feel like directly doing the age thing would be harder to get past even just censors, as again, especially in the time period.
Especially
we
in the
can't
time
even
period.
have gay folks apparently. Like,
yeah. So yes and no. Like, clearly there's Nephrite's relationship with Naru is problematic and he's using her throughout it. And I mean, like, we're gonna get into some stuff later, but I do like how that ends. But it doesn't really stop Usagi from having a relationship later with Tuxedo Mask, who, you know, in the anime is an adult. I think that, like, there's definitely some stuff where even though Nephrite and Tuxedo Mask are both, like, adults, Nephrite behaves more like an adult, and, like, I would say in the manga there's a lot more of just, like, with the age gap, that being like, hey, adults dating children isn't great, but because the anime decided to age up Tuxedo Mask for God knows what reason, that ends up being undercut because, you know, to be real, the girls in my high school weren't dating, like, 30-year-olds, they were dating college students.
I mean, yeah, and that does track with a lot of, I mean, if you were going to be younger high school, hopefully not middle school age, but, like, dating kids in college, it makes some sense, like, why girls would want to maybe do that or whatever. And, like, so, I mean, either way still, but yeah, like, it's, It's interesting, and I mean these episodes in general. I mean, there's going to be a lot of this. So, see, do we want to keep moving because like the episodes
Yeah.
we're going to really get
Yeah, we
into it
wanna-
actually with a few.
Yeah.
So let's move to unless you had something, Ren.
No, I was just gonna say that the next episode in the block was kind of a departure and it seemed like a bit of a filler episode.
Oh, yeah,
on
it's a beach
different
episode.
topic.
Oh yeah,
So-
yeah, exactly. It's kind of the obligatory Peach episode of all anime because all anime must have one, of course. The summer, the beach, youth, and ghosts. Although you're right, this is really a general departure from how episodes normally work because no one fights a monster in this episode. I mean, at least
There's
no
a
one.
ghost.
I mean, yes, but no one from the Dark Kingdom.
Oh yeah, nobody from the Dark Kingdom.
Yeah, the Dark Kingdom is just like off, so just
Although
nothing
we do have
happening.
an introduction, although she doesn't become a Sailor Scout in this episode. We have an introduction to a kiddo.
With some powers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's got some psychic powers. And her dad, who is maniacally laughing while hypnotizing her, so that she can bring out her psychic powers and prove to the world that they really have psychic powers.
It's obviously the best sort of father-daughter relationship. Incredibly healthy.
Absolutely. And I mean, by the end of the episode, after she like releases this ghost of all of which is like a part of her inner traumas and wanting to just be herself and not have to do this, the character growth, apparently that's like, you're right, I've been wrong this whole time. After, again, literally maniacally laughing evilly while hypnotizing his child.
Yeah, that seemed a little bit fast.
Yeah, just a little bit fast. I don't know why everyone's just all of a sudden ready to forgive.
Although I will say that I love that the character who immediately understands what's going on is Ami because she was in Kumon.
Like her parents have way too high of expectations for her, so she's like,
Yeah.
oh, I get this scenario.
I understand what's happening here.
Yeah, and I mean, it is kind of a cool, funny gag the whole time too. That everyone working at the hotel looks like famous monsters, but they're actually just completely normal people. Like they just look weird, and that's it. It's kind of great. Like that is a good gag. I'll give them credit. But it is a weird episode. I mean, it's cool too because eventually the little girl gets to make friends with all of them, and it's really wonderful. I think it's like I think this is the episode where it's commented on or whatever, where it's like, dang, like Usagi can just make friends with anyone instantly.
Yes,
and like that
is,
and it's an admirable thing about her, and it's true. Like I think it is extremely admirable about her. She's a bit of a crybaby and has other problems, but like that is one of those traits that's like.
But she's somebody who inspires love and for people to be their best selves.
Yeah, like, I would say this is a much lighter precursor to the kind of hero we get to see in Steven Universe in the future. A character where, like, I mean, Steven Universe obviously very big on not wanting to solve problems with violence a lot, but in any way, but I mean, like, the idea of the more trying to inspire people and do those kinds of things whenever possible. Like, character started back then. And there's no way Rebecca Sugar was not in some way inspired a little bit by Sailor Moon.
Oh gosh,
I mean, that's just a part of all of our generations and growing up.
There's a bunch of GIFs on the internet which are just bits of Steven Universe and then an anime next door where, like, literally the scenes are just mirrors of each other. There's a lot of Utna in
that tracks
Universe,
too. Yeah.
Which is wonderful, specifically in Pearl.
And to be fair too, I mean, like, Utna and Sailor Moon, obviously there's a ton of interplay there. I mean, Utna's director directs one of the Sailor Moon movies, which we'll eventually get to talk about. That's way further down the line. Sorry, folks. I know I gotta hype you up to keep you listening and all, but
the same people working on all of the gay anime of the 90s.
I know, right? Well, I mean, to be fair, that's part of why Una came to be. Sailor Moon was such a huge success,
exactly,
and they wanted to make something kind of like it, but a bit different. And there you go. I mean, so it makes a lot of sense that they kind of all worked together. I thought, see. Just because I mentioned Rebecca Sugar, I'm sorry. I got to skip up to the next episode. You got something with the beach episode.
We have to talk about Usagi's swimsuit.
That's right.
The return of the moth-eaten swimsuit.
That's true. They kept that little tiny piece of canon, and that's cute. You're right. I shouldn't have forgot about that.
And
it is kind of neat.
why wouldn't she get a new swimsuit? And I'm like, she spends all her money at the arcade. She is not responsible.
Although, see, later down the line, though, okay, that's another episode in the future. But
now we can go forward.
Yes, because
into protect the children's dreams, friendship through anime.
Yes, which is just like
anime.
the most meta episode, because as we joked, Kai pointed out, like, one of the animators on the Sailor V anime, the one who ends up getting all possessed by Nephrite and such and all that stuff, looks a lot like Rebecca Sugar. Kai even showed me a picture of
Rebecca Sugar.
Yeah, that Rebecca Sugar had drawn of herself. And the similarities are
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
I don't know what Rebecca Sugar's pronouns are. I am not up to date on Rebecca Sugar.
But even that drawing compared to the character in the episode looks eerily similar. It was very neat.
She, her, they, them.
Okay, so either.
All right. The things. Nice.
Oh, good. Whew. But it was just kind of funny. Like, it's just a weird, perfect little moment. But yeah, extremely meta episode. I'll say this just as a general anime fan, watching this and watching them hand draw anime with pencils and stuff. I mean, it's an era that's gone now. I mean, we don't see that anymore. Like, at least not in mainstream studios. We're not getting the kind of like production style that Sailor Moon is done in, and it's kind of fascinating. Like, if you were to like say, let's reboot Sailor Moon in a way, like make it modern somehow, that this episode would be completely different. Like, and I don't know, it's just a little moment of like nostalgia, because
I also would like to say that some of the backgrounds for the studio, the paintings are just so gorgeous.
Oh gosh, yeah, they put a lot of love into this episode, and I think that's part of what makes it sad. Like, while obviously there are like little production things here and there in Sailor Moon, the repeated sequences, everything, because hand-drawn animation is expensive, folks, and it's really slow. And now we expect animators to pump out stuff so quickly, and it's kind of ridiculous. Hashtag a better deal for animation.
We're seeing a shift from 2D hand-drawn animation to CG animation, and specifically like CG where not all of the rendering has to happen.
Yeah, because even like CG to make stuff look 2D too, like entirely.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like, I do love the Dragon Prince, but like, there's a lot of scenes in it where I'm like, I would really prefer for this to be just drawn.
Yeah, it's odd, like, getting to look back at this show. I mean, I know a lot of it is, there's got to be some nostalgia glasses, and but it's really beautiful. Like, even seeing things, because like Kai had mentioned, like the main Sailor Moon transformation sequence, there's bits where you would expect there to just be painted white, but it's done in pink because pink was probably cheaper to buy.
Well,
like, I mean, things like that.
You're already buying pink. Why open up another tube?
Yeah, basically, exactly. Like, it's
for
like
your highlights for your eyes.
Yeah, so it's like all of the little budgetary things, even though, but like, it adds to the vibe. And nowadays, when you can just have unlimited anything, we don't get that. And so, like, the character of a show has to come from like character designs and like stuff even more intensely than it used to.
Yeah.
Because like there's these, like, I don't know, it's all those little touches, or like I said, the hand just lovingly drawn little posters in the background, or like the little things where it's just like, wow, the amount of time that went into this. Of course, background art still takes tons of time today, so don't get me wrong, but it's just I
mean, you still get painted backgrounds. Steven Universe has the whole like gouache painted backgrounds and watercolors, and it's great.
Oh yeah, and I mean, there's those that are like trying to pioneer tons of stuff in animation. Like, we had the anime that tried to like basically essentially do watercolors but CG, which was gorgeous. Yeah. And there are still some things where people have done. There's a movie, and I'm gonna forget the name of it.
Movie?
No, there's an anime movie where there was a full sequence that was animated in watercolor, actually hand done watercolor, and like, because of course, you know how inconsistent watercolor is to get each individual frame to look right. Yeah. Holy crap! So you know, there's still people pushing things like that, but it's sad because like I'm watching seasonal anime while we're watching Sailor Moon and stuff like that, and it's like, watching this, there is such a feel that we miss, and I do miss this. I look forward to the first anime that tries to bring back the like this looks like this was animated in the 90s, because I know the Megaloboxer kind of tried to do some stuff to make it look like it was older, but not that intensely. And there's people who do like, here's how to draw art to make it look like it's from an old school anime. But I'm looking forward to
It's a whole meme in the art community to basically chroma shift your things so that it looks like it has the TV blur from like 80s and 90s anime.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking forward to the first show that does this on purpose in the modern era. Like if it's not being worked on literally right now, because it might be. Nostalgia sells so hard, everybody. We all know it, but I can't wait. But now that we've gone off on a complete side tangent, our animator is definitely trans, because magical blue and pink spirals surround her as all of her energy is.
This is true, and also gay.
Yes, absolutely. Those two animator girls. Ugh. Although it is kind of funny too, though. Like I mentioned this during the episode, but her, as she slowly goes evil, she's like, "I'm going to kill off Sailor V," and it's kind of funny because like, if you know the history of the original Pokemon movie, that's what the creator wanted to do. Originally, he wanted to essentially kill off Ash and end the anime series right there. So it's kind of funny though, because there's a lot of stories like where that's where a lot of people wanted to do stuff with. Like they make a movie, this is the end of the series, I'm going to kill off a main character like of the era. It's kind of funny that even this, because drawn before the 90s and everything else, like, is it still gets to comment on this thing that happens way too often. Like, it's kind of cool.
I think also it's kind of neat to have like the interplay between things, and to have it be like the side that this episode is definitely on is artists shouldn't just be allowed to kill off main characters of children's shows, because that would create emotional depth. Like, it's more important that Sailor V be around to inspire children than that you have a big emotional art moment for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole, even the title of the episode is related to that, with anime being about children's dreams and friendship, and that's like the sacred calling of the animators.
Yeah, that's true. That's mentioned in the whole episode. Although, all right, folks, time for current events. Fuck the Oscars for saying that animation is something that's only for kids. And it was a big problem. And I know tons of animators are talking about this, because I mean, I was joking earlier, but the whole hashtag New Deal for animation, all this stuff discussing how hard work is for animators. And obviously so many adults enjoy animation. We're all here watching some and talking about it. And well, I kind of get this thing through the episode, like, and the lens of it, and why when it was being written, like, completely get it. But the whole anime is just for kids, and then even Ray is like obviously into anime too.
This is just why Western adult animation looks like garbage.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, no, we could make things really cool. Although I know there are some theories that the idea of making adult animation look ugly is so that kids won't want to watch it. I don't know.
I don't buy into that. I think that you can make adult animation look beautiful and then still have it have adult themes and not show it to kids.
Yeah, it just puts the responsibility on parents to not just shove their kids in front of shit. I mean, as much as Family Guy's a crappy show, they've done the whole meta joke commentary of like, they've made jokes now where it's like, yeah, like if you've just been letting your kids sit here and watch this, isn't it like, why the fuck are you doing that? Like, it's like, yeah, we all get it. This is a problem. We don't have to put it on kids to somehow be like, I don't think I want to watch this show that is definitely not for me. Like, damn.
It's a thing where, going like 10 minutes into any sort of like, oh god, what's the really pretty anime where there's the like pop star and somebody kills himself?
That's good. That's too vague.
That's very vague.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I cannot help that. The problem is I can think of 3 shows that might qualify.
Yes, that's true.
Oopsies. Does anime have tropes that repeat? Like
Yeah,
the
sometimes.
aforementioned Joking Beach episode? Weird.
Sometimes. But like, I think it's Blue something or other.
Oh, I don't think that's a pop star. I think that's a
She's
TV show.
Okay.
That's Perfect Blue.
Perfect Blue.
That's a movie. Yeah.
That's a movie.
Which
But, like,
I mean, hey,
yes.
if you're listening to this, complete side note, his entire filmography is free for the next week. So if you're listening to this right when this episode comes out,
Cool.
yes, it's all online right now for free on a website as some sort of special promotion for like an anniversary thing for his work or something. Yeah, a lot of anniversaries this year. I will see if I can remember to put a link in the description if I can re-find that bit of news, because I was gonna rewatch Millennium Actress because it's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
We all of us in this room watched Tokyo Godfathers for Christmas, which is gonna be
very, very
oh yeah, that's probably gonna become a tradition now. So like,
which I think the Tokyo Godfathers you could show to children.
oh, I do too, honestly. Even though it's a little more intense, you could probably get away with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
you gotta gauge your kid too.
In the parental guidance category.
Exactly. You gotta gauge, because some kids are gonna work with some stuff great. Like there's kids who like absolutely adore bloody, violent horror movies and like it's nothing to them, and other kids who that would traumatize for life.
Absolutely.
You gotta know what your kid is up for, and that's important. But yeah, this episode too. I will admit, I got to comment on the monsters of the whole, like, we are inseparable and all powerful. And it's like, it takes
and then they have like 10 seconds in, have an argument, and then they're like, no, we don't want to be friends anymore.
Yeah, it's like, I get that this is supposed to be the whole, this is what the girls in the animation studio are going through thing, but like, Jesus, they didn't even have to try. Like, damn, like, oh, we could completely destroy these, like, Sailor Scouts and, like kick their ass the first little attack thing, but they're like, we're fighting now.
I think that's part of the idea of it, that the struggle involved. Like, there are a couple of instances of teamwork in this. There are the Sailor Scouts, who, this is the first episode that they have, like, combined transformation attack and combination attack sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
The animators have struggled through and have their rivalry, and there's struggle involved, and then these twin monsters just immediately defeat them and immediately then fall apart.
Which I would like to say that it is part of the lesbian experience to see a woman and be like, she's so wonderful, I could never compare her. And then be like, I'm angry.
Yeah, it's so good that the two are able to resolve their problems at the end of the episode.
Before they figure out things.
Yeah, sorry, we were both doing the exact same thing. It's all okay. But you're right, I really do like that. That is the first time we get to see a much more major, like, it's not just one then the other combo, all of us transformation thing. Like, that's a really good contrast, and I would have missed that. Thank you, Wren. Like, that's really cool. So it's a neat bit of the episode. Like, see, as much as we talk about how, like, sometimes there's just some silly shit in Sailor Moon, like, there are moments like that where there's this really depth, interesting little tiny detail they put in. We've talked about some of them in previous episodes of the podcast too, and I like that. Yeah. Like, even something small like this, maybe that it's proving the same thing, that you could put deeper themes in children's media and it would be fine. I mean, we know this now, because probably, I mean, if Steven Universe is not the example that's good enough for you, plenty of kids shows doing this hardcore these days, or at least shows that were for kids and we grew up on, like, you could say, like, Adventure Time and such.
Oh gosh, yeah, no,
like we've proven that we can do better.
I think that's also a thing too, where specifically from the 80s until, like, us being teenagers, animation was in a bit of a place where it existed to sell toys.
Yeah.
In the US and other places in the West, it existed to sell toys, and there was an attitude of, well, it doesn't really matter what is in kids' shows, because kids will just continue to watch it. And as long as it sells toys, it's doing its job.
I bet that's probably why we have some of these problems today of the whole animation is just for kids and who cares thing. Like, it's people not only underestimating what kids are capable of understanding. Because I mean, Steven Universe, I hate to keep bringing up the example, but even just the song "Here Comes a Thought." I've read about like people who are now like 18 or whatever, who are like, I heard that song and now like I'm getting it, and it's like, holy shit moments. You know, there's like things like that you can have. Kids are far more capable of taking on things than we could imagine, and having this empathy and understanding deeper emotional concepts. And we could teach it to them through cartoons instead of it just having to be throwaway goofy jokes. There is obviously a place for throwaway goofy jokes, because let's be real. I mean, I'll be honest, SpongeBob can still make me laugh sometimes as an adult, at least some of the older episodes. Like every now and then you want to turn off your brain and giggle. We watched Poi Poi Molcar here a while back just because it was fun.
It was so cute.
Yeah, it's like, it's stuff like that. Like that absolutely has a place. But
it absolutely has a place. But I do think that also the idea that children can't understand complicated things, and thus we shouldn't show children complicated things because they won't understand it, means that children, when they encounter complicated things in their life, will not have framework for understanding what's happening.
Yeah, and I think, especially when we talk today, there's a real problem with media literacy in general.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, I think it's because that's the whole point. We don't let kids be challenged and learn the skill, you know?
I think, too, part of why there's a tendency for people to compare everything to Harry Potter, and, you know, the joke is, find another book. The reason why people compare everything to Harry Potter is because that's the one piece of media that they grew up with as kids that had some adult situations in it.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, like, it's all they read.
That's all they read. And it's like, it's important to, like, move past that, because, you know, Harry Potter has a lot of problematic shit, and we can't go on that tangent.
Yeah, no, that could be multiple episodes of a podcast all on its own.
Yes, and it should be. But, like, I think that it's very important to give kids complicated things to think about and to talk to them about it in ways that they can understand. I think that Bambi is very good because it talks about what happens when a relative dies. And, like, it's heartbreaking, but it's helpful.
Yeah. Although, I mean, to be fair, too, it's very much like all hunters are all evil. Which, I mean, I can understand. I mean, there's multiple perspectives on that, to be fair. Yeah. I mean, like, I get it. Not wanting to kill animals is valid as hell. I'm never going to say anyone's, like, a jerk for being like, we should try to protect animals, but
hunting is not actually,
well, I mean, we
end-all be-all evil thing.
Well, and especially with deer, to be fair, part of the problem is that we screwed up things by killing wolves in such huge numbers that if we don't literally have hunting every year, the deer population will
explode, and then they'll eat all of the...
Oh yeah, it will cause it. It will kill so many animals, including themselves, with disease and everything else, that it would be just absolutely terrifying. Yeah, so it's like, it's not perfect. Of course,
it's not perfect. But
of course, I mean, Bambi 2 is, of course. Oh God. But yeah, like Disney's bad at making sequels a lot of the time.
Oh God,
it's unfortunate.
And Disney's tendency to midquel is hilarious.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean,
who asked for a Fox and the Hound midquel?
Oh God, yeah, no kidding. Years after the movie came out. This just makes me think, really at the end of this, because we're only watching the original series. We're not going to be watching the redone series, like Sailor Moon Crystal. We should probably, on the very last episode, maybe do here's a little bit of Crystal. Maybe we'll just watch like the first 3 episodes or something. Okay. And I know everyone will tell it because it's true. The animation on those first episodes are really bad. And the series gets better over time for anyone who's like, I want to watch that, or is about to yell at me that it gets better over time. I know, I promise.
My friend Megzy does not like Crystal.
Yes, which is also fascinating. That could be a whole episode of something too in and of itself, of comparing something like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and, like, you know, how like they did here's the one that's closer to the manga. They're doing this with Sailor Moon. How does this different, and how did people interpret it differently? That's probably going to have to just be something I write down to compare and contrast, because that's fascinating. Put that one in my mental notes. But we should definitely
move to the next episode.
Yes, we've gone on good side tangents this time. I'm not against good side tangents. Where we have more problematic things happening in Romance Under the Moon, Usagi's First Kiss, where Usagi gets kissed while she's drunk by Tuxedo Mask. Anyway, so let's diving back into the beginning of the episode.
So our villains are looking for the silver crystal. This has been established. There's a Princess of Diamonds from the kingdom where...
Yes, the Kingdom of Diamonds.
Almost all the gemstones come from.
Yes, this is a real place,
She's
definitely.
an adorable nerd.
Oh yeah, she's got the big swirly glasses.
And Luna's like, maybe this is the princess that I've been looking for that I know nothing about.
Yeah, and I mean, she does have a rare magical crystal-y thing of some kind, or like a magic rock, maybe.
But it turns out that she isn't aware of talking cats and is a huge nerd, so...
Oh yeah, and then the secret thing is a statue somehow carved out of diamond, which...
Yeah.
Of the first ever princess of the kingdom. So somehow, A, they had diamond cutting technology back then. Holy shit. But B, they found a diamond large enough to make a miniature statue, which has never existed in the history of our planet. So, the Kingdom of Diamonds. Damn. I mean, let's be real though. The Kingdom of Diamonds and diamond mining and all of that stuff. I'm sorry. This princess is probably very problematic.
Oh,
Hashtag cancel Princess Diamond. But
I mean, is she though? We don't know.
Yeah.
She doesn't know anything.
I mean, to be fair too, this is where Naru kind of also gets abused a little bit more to like carry this evil spirit thing to the princess to try to she's being very much used here.
Nephrite has been like, it's going to be a continuous thing throughout their relationship where Nephrite is like, you love me, you'd do anything for me. Do this. Tell me this. And
she just does.
And she does because she loves him.
Yeah, and see, I think that's part of the problem with the maybe are we hoping that this is kind of a bad relationship thing, like, and letting it go a little bit is because they get away with a lot for at the end for them to be like, oh, this is a beautiful relationship and so sad that it ended.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little... And again, as an adult, as a kid, this would wash over your head, but then it would, put some seeds in your head of not great stuff.
Yeah.
But this episode is an episode. I mean, like as silly as it is to say, like, minus the most memorable part for me is, yes, we're learning that Tuxedo Mask is like, he's having these memories. We're learning a little bit more about that. But really, unironically, the part I remember most about this episode is that Sailor Moon is like, oh, this punch looks nice, gets drunk, and then gets kissed by fucking Tuxedo Mask while she's drunk. That is the part that sticks out to me. Although her dad not recognizing her because she's dressed up pretty is also kind of funny.
I do love her dad not recognizing her and then being like, maybe one day my daughter will grow up to be that pretty.
It's like, damn, ouch.
And it's like, that's kind of cute though, because it's like, he thinks that his daughter is beautiful, and it's like, I really hope that she grows up good.
Yeah, I guess that's fair too. But
it's not like anyone can recognize Usagi being Sailor Moon, despite very similar appearance.
Yeah!
I mean, it's the Clark Kent Superman thing.
Yeah.
I mean...
It happens with superheroes.
Yeah, although, I mean, I don't know.
Part of the mystique.
I know some people have done, like, analysis on that too, and there is an amount of, like, your personality being so different when you're in superhero, whatever.
Definitely.
So, like, the idea that because she's acting like she's some prim, proper princess, and obviously that's not what Usagi's almost ever like, ever. Yeah. There's enough to be like, she looks really familiar, but it can't be.
Yeah.
Like, I can kind of get it, but it is definitely a special superpower.
When she's Sailor Moon, she's confident and she's doing things, although sometimes she is not confident.
Yeah, like somehow no one has managed
to
figure this out.
The transformation is always like, I'm Sailor Moon, and I'm here to punish you in the name of the moon. And it's like, that is not Usagi in her day-to-day. Usagi in her day-to-day is a crybaby who likes eating and likes boys a lot and doesn't really think about a lot of things that maybe her parents would like her to think about.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
yeah. We can think even further and go to episode 23, Wish Upon a Star, Naru's First Love. But so yeah, this is what we were talking about earlier, where Usagi tries to be like, "Hey Naru, no."
It's also kind of interesting too, because how Naru frames it to Usagi is that she's an adult now, she has an adult relationship, and Usagi is like splashing her in the pool, and they're hanging out with like kids, and Usagi has a new swimsuit.
Yes, exactly. We're coming back to that. She got a new swimsuit.
It's blue. Cool.
Yeah, finally was like, I guess this thing with moth holes I should replace.
Those were very adorable, though.
I mean, yeah, it's cute. I'm almost a little sad that they didn't keep that going as a... Yeah. I don't know, it's one of the things, like, it's a cute nod, but to be fair, with a lot of episodes like this, especially with hand-drawn animation, different people were in charge of different episodes. So it's quite likely that, from whatever coincidence, like we could dig deep into the credits and find out. Maybe I will for fun. But that the person who did the previous episode with the swimsuit, someone was doing that episode, and that's why it's the same.
So Usagi got a new swimsuit. And
46 minutes.
Naru is talking about herself, and she says that she's an adult. She's too old for childish things. She's got an adult relationship, and Usagi could never. Usagi is having fun with her and is splashing her in the pool and, you know, doing normal kid things of playing in the pool with her friend. And Naru is like, I'm a woman now.
Yeah.
Which is the attitude that a lot of young girls who enter into relationships with adult men have towards their relationships with adult men. They think that it makes them more mature than the other children around them. Which, no, having adult experiences as a child does not immediately equal maturity.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, growing up too quickly is a great way to get trauma.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, especially for the sorts of girls that get targeted by that sort of dude, like, the inability to be like, oh, you know, this seems a little bit old and, like, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
You know, people who are already traumatized by their childhoods are less likely to be like, I'm not ready for this experience. I should not do this because I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah, because in this episode, too, like, he gets her to not only try to steal a very special jewel thing from her mom's jewelry shop, but, like, and through this eventually gets to figure out Sailor Moon's real identity. Like, oh crap, you know? Like, it's spooky, like, and all of this stuff, like, manipulating her, and it sucks, like, and it's just...
And he's like, I've been doing things for my evil organization. I have done bad things. But now, because of you, I'm not going to do bad things. And just, like, what that does, it's the same thing when parents who fight a lot say that they're staying together for their children. What that does is it makes her responsible for his growth. And it's a thing that's very, very common in relationships with older dudes and younger girls, where, like, I'm sorry I did something bad, but you've taught me that it's bad, so I'm going to improve. But whether or not they mean that is a totally different thing.
Yeah, and I mean, this episode, too, like, part of the drawing them together is because the Dark Crystal finally shows up.
Yes.
Nothing from Jim Henson. But and so, like, and it's like, oh, she seems to be, like, attracting this thing, like, there's something about her, what's going on? And so, like, we get a little bit of interesting stuff there. And, like, I mean, I think this is perfect. Naru's tears, Nephrite dies for love. I feel like this is the moment to just jump into the last episode where it was, we were talking about earlier, Sailor Moon is, like, championing, like, this is okay and this is true love. Well, and it's a little weird.
Usagi
like,
says, how dare you interfere with true love?
Yeah, and it's just like,
really weird and not entirely accurate. But I do think that it's kind of nice. Nephrite, in the end, when he's dying, I mean, he says, you know, I've been lying to you all this time. I'm really sorry. I've been lying to you until the end, and we're not actually going to experience that one good thing that you wanted to experience together. And that reads a lot like the breakups that I've seen between older dudes and younger girls. Like, when they actually realize that, hey, maybe, you know,
yeah,
I've been taking advantage of you. Or also, like, for some of the girls that I knew in college that dated older men, you know, I am not actually going to leave my wife, or I am dying. Like, these are things that if the girls had been dating somebody their own age, they wouldn't have experienced that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to, he's like all like, "Oh, you loving and caring about me has changed me," and I mean, it's true. Like, all of the Sailor Scouts are crying at the end of this, and it's just like, he was a literal monster. He's got one episode of character growth tops. He also is saying like, "Yes, I just lie all the time," and like and shit. Like, this is not a good guy. He's a fully adult man. Like,
oh god, yeah.
All of these young girls' ideas of what relationships and love should be are deeply flawed. deeply flawed, which makes sense for a middle schooler, to be fair, but deeply flawed.
Well, I mean, it's also just a thing where Naru's feelings about the relationship didn't change, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And I think that it's okay for her and her friends to be mourning what by all means was a shitty relationship. But the feelings that Naru had were in existence, and they're valid, and she should grieve them.
Yeah, I mean, and that part is fair. Like, see, if I was, doing the rewrite Sailor Moon thing, I would let Naru be crying, and the other girls just be more like, oh angry. Dear, yeah, like, but like it makes sense because no matter what, like Naru was technically, essentially being groomed or whatever here. It's not her fault, like none of this is, and that bit does suck. So of course she's sad, but I don't know. It's one of those things, of course, again, looking back, like, I can get the idea of why, because all the girls are like, oh, romance. But, like, it's just like, geez.
I will say, too, that the attitude of being angry about the guy for hurting your friend's feelings after one of those relationships ends, a lot of the time can keep people in those relationships.
Yeah, I suppose that is a bit fair. That's true.
And so, like, it's a thing where if you know somebody who's in one of those relationships, I would say be very careful about how you voice your discomfort with that. You should tell your friends that when you think that they're in something that's bad for them, but you shouldn't necessarily be like, it's stupid for you to be in this. And definitely you should not be saying, I told you so afterwards.
Yeah, it's true. Like, because otherwise you're just going to send them essentially right back into the arms of the bad stuff because, well, they're not going to tell me that I'm stupid. And there you go. Like,
yeah, no. And I mean, also just like, if people look at themselves and say, I'm stupid, I deserved this.
Yeah, it's like, it's just sets them up for future stuff, even if they get out.
Exactly.
Although, see, like, I would never be like, Naru, you're an idiot. Like, no. But, like, it would be, in the ideal world, the Sailor Scouts being like, hey, that's a literal monster. It's okay you had feelings, but, like, glad you were able to get out of this thing where this was probably unsafe. Like, that'd be my, of course, ideal magical world, which, of course, in no way happens, but everyone is just sad because love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, this is also, again, like kids stuff with middle schoolers and stuff like that. So, like, there's a little bit to be forgiven here, but, like, Damn. A lot of weird stuff going on with adults and kids in the show. I hope this doesn't continue to be a trend. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, look, eventually, as we've joked, a cat's going to fall in love with a human, so nothing in romance is sacred. Nothing.
Spoilers, Allie. Spoilers.
We've spoiled this in a previous episode of the podcast.
Spoilers again.
But, see, do we have any other big things to comment on in this set of episodes? I mean, and just to make sure everyone knows, Nephrite dies.
Oh yeah, Nephrite
just to make sure we
dies.
made that clear. He's dead.
Nephrite dies. Nara's sad. The Sailor Scouts are sad.
Yeah, now is the era of Noisite. Like,
Usagi was supportive of the relationship, which, makes sense because Usagi was a kid and seeing her, teenaged friend who is the same age as she is and being like, I respect your decisions.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen.
But yeah, do we got any other big things or?
I don't know.
As I say, because we're
close off.
Oh yeah, well, I am Borealis, aka the Literal Grill.
And I'm Wren.
And I'm Kai.
And remember, the moonlight is a messenger of problematic age gap relationships.
Much love.
Yes, much love.